Hey, thanks for dropping by. Come on in.
Time to retire to the drawing room.
Neil Finn, my guest in the drawing room, complete with acoustic guitar. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure, yeah. Nice to be here.
No, it's very exciting to have you in. Is it technically true that you are still the front man of Crowded House, or is that officially over now? Or
No, it's not officially over. No, it's in the car's in the garage. It's maybe up on blocks, but you can get it out in the road pretty easily with a little bit of a tune-up.
Yeah.
You know, and I love the fact that it's like that, and I think we're all, it's able to come and go from it. I'm creatively restless and need to have other avenues to follow. So at the moment, I'm making a solo record. It enables me to be quite free with what I do.
Yeah, and I think, if I may say so, that really shows up in the work that you do outside of Crowded House, because it's always like you're exploring a different artistic frontier with every different project. Is that a deliberate choice? Is that just what happens? How does it come about?
Part of it is that every album I do, even if it is Crowded House, is an opportunity to explore new territory. And I think we all had that mentality with Crowded House and with Split Enz. I grew up with the idea that every album you do should be some kind of departure or development from the last record. So yeah, maybe it's more significant to, once you put the name on something, to other people. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just the way that people perceive it. But for me, it's like a continuous body of work, and I choose different collaborators for each record, and that means you have to give it a different name.
I suppose, but at what point do you make that decision? I mean, if you're setting out to do a Crowded House record, is there a different brain that you're using?
I don't recognise it as a different brain, no. It's the same brain that's coming out, and I'm putting just as much effort and care and attention into everything. Different personalities mean there's a different sound. The way that Nick Seymour plays bass has an effect on the sound of a track. And it's enjoyable to have collaborators, and I still had collaborators with this record, even though it's called a solo record. I was lucky enough to have my family around for the recording of it, and so they were the band.
Well, they were all over it. I was just looking at the instrumental credits.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
the album, and there's barely anyone who's not a Finn involved.
I know. Well, we've got a pretty good cast now,
yeah.
And there's more coming up because Tim's family are shaping up to be very musical. So. Yeah, there may be an expanded lineup in the offing at some point.
Yes, although I think surely the height of familial collaboration occurred with Pyjama Club. This point where you and your wife got together and realised you were empty nesters.
Yeah, that was a revelation for both her and me, because I didn't know she was a bass player. She didn't know she was a bass player,
yes.
But then I didn't know I was a drummer.
Exactly.
And we had a lot of mutual discoveries. We were kind of connected at about the same level of just becoming enthusiasts and beginners,
Yeah.
And there's something very nice about that. So that album, from a feel point of view, was developed off very simple grooves. The songs, in some cases, were simple too, but then there was some sophistication crept in. This album, Sharon is playing bass again, then it's a little more sophisticated, but I like her approach. She kind of plays from the hips. She doesn't play from the head. She's not like a frilly bass player. She just likes to keep the groove going.
But you didn't get behind the kit on this occasion, which is a great disappointment, I think, to music fans all over the world. The return of
You're
Neil
the first
Finn
one to say it, but I thank you for that kindness. I did actually play on one track, which is on the Australian version of the album, which I didn't realise there was a separate version, but there's apparently a version with a bonus track, because that's what you have to do these days.
You mean you don't? I would have thought you'd be all over that. I would have thought that it was you that says, no, look, this is the way it's going to work. In this country, we're going to have this, and in that country, we're going to have that.
It's a modern-day scourge. iTunes insist on having a bonus track, and so therefore the retailers in Australia insist on having an excess track to mean that people will buy the record. I don't really like having to buy into that, but that does mean that when you buy the hard copy of the record in Australia, you'll get, I don't know if it's true for the whole stock.
Right, well,
you get an extra track called Animal vs. Human that I played drums on.
Okay, so this is the first philosophical front, I think, that opens up in this conversation, which is, what then is the album?
Good question. I don't like the idea of all of those bonus tracks. I went along with it reluctantly, to be honest. It does mean that people get some good deals, but it means that people who buy the album, I'm giving them at the formerly mentioned great big Aussie retailer chain, get a track that somebody who buys the album from an independent music store won't have, which I don't like. I think that's not right. But I would encourage anybody who missed out on a bonus track in any forum whatsoever to illegally download that track and have my blessing.
Really?
Oh,
is it? I don't know if it's still illegal, is it? If you've given it your blessing?
No, I don't know. That's a good question. It wouldn't hold up in a court of law.
Who owns the rights?
But it's not getting to a court of law mostly anyway. No, just you feel good about it though. You don't have to
Yeah.
feel any dilemma.
So what do I do now in the face of these bonus tracks? Am I meant to stay until the end, or do I switch off a couple early and go, that's the album, the rest is encore?
No, well, hopefully people put some thought into the bonus tracks, and I can honestly say I did, and say, well, if this track is going to be on there, and I like the bonus tracks, I might add. I think they were almost on the record. It was a very difficult decision in some cases to leave them off, but you try and make a flow. But in every case, on these bonus tracks, I put some effort into thinking where they would fall in the order. So I think the sequence is still relatively intact and meaningful.
Well, you've got a guitar here, and it would just be ridiculous of me not to get you to play something when you have it. But I do want to also have a chance to play a track off the album, because the thing I note about this album is it's just so intricately crafted. There's so many layers in the studio that simply can't be replicated with one man and an acoustic guitar that I think people deserve to hear.
Yeah, I'm learning how to play some of them on acoustic guitar, and then it's actually a good process, and it's good to know they can survive in that form. But
Do you subscribe to the view that it's not a good song unless it can survive in that form?
Yeah, in the main, I would. Although I think there are exceptions to that rule where the record is so good that the song is that part of what makes the song great is the record. So, yeah, no, I don't think I'm not a purist in that regard. Otherwise, why don't I just make records with acoustic guitars? You know, I love the recording in studio and what it can offer, and I wouldn't want to distance myself from that.
Okay, well, show us how one of your songs stands
Okay.
up on an acoustic guitar, Shea. What are we about to hear?
This is Flying in the Face of Love.
You must reveal your infinite sorrow. Show what you're made of, what you're afraid of. You'll have to leave the comfort of shadows, places you came from, the troubles you played on. You played right out on the landing. Leaves are descending. Summer is ending, and daylight is blue. Is that you rising up, flying in the face of love? Now you set your mind to run in circles around everyone, flying in the face of love, thinking enough is enough before you get too involved. Like this isn't real, it's just a feeling that gets in the way sometimes. Every distraction you can imagine, you'd imagine like a disclaimer. It's turning you off, turning you off. Flying in the face of love will set your mind to run in circles around everyone. Flying in the face of love and dreaming of the one you lost. Wake up to barking dogs. Were you thinking of her when you wrote that song? Sing it to me, your mysterious life I'm reminded of. Think about it when it feels like a new sensation, then it's gone, gone, gone. Flying in the face of love. How much longer will you run in circles around everyone? Flying in the face of love, thinking enough is enough. Wake up to barking dogs. Flying in the face of love. when all the years are catching up? And how does it feel to be wrong?
Live in the drawing room, that's Neil Finn performing Flying in the Face of Love. It's the third track off his new solo album, Dizzy Heights. And here's my guest, Solo himself, in the drawing room. It's been a pleasure to have you come in. Thanks
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.